shall I render to the Lord for all his bounty to me?
Welcome to Veiled in Grace. I'm Kyra.
And I'm Anna. We are Cradle Orthodox Christians.
And we're here to talk about what it's like to be Orthodox women
in a very non-Orthodox world.
And today I want to start by reading scripture from 1 Corinthians 6:19 says, "Do you not know that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit?" In today's episode, we are actually doing a second part to fasting and our discussion on fasting. If anyone listening, watching hasn't seen the last episode, we talked about what fasting is, the purpose of fasting, the scripture that is calling us to fast, because with fasting, it really is not an if you fast. The Lord says when you fast. So we talked a lot about what fasting can look like for different people and how fasting from food in particular isn't always something that applies to everybody. However, it is one of the most common ways for people to fast, and that's what we're going to jump into a little bit today. So many people associate fasting from food with feeling depleted, tired, exhausted, and oftentimes it's because they're not fasting in the best way for their body.
Yes, the church teaches that the body is good and that fasting shouldn't be taking away from your body still being good and taking care of the body. We just need to be a little more intentional with what we are consuming and how much we're consuming.
Yes, God created our bodies. He did not create fasting as something for us to do to harm our bodies, but to bring good to us in conjunction with a prayer life that is active.
Right, and almsgiving and just acting more Christ-like in all different ways.
The purpose of fasting in part is to discipline our passions, the things that we really struggle and are drawn to, not to be disciplining our body per se. If fasting is making us unable to love, to pray, to function, then we probably have some sort of imbalance going on. And it's not normal and natural to feel so depleted during the fasting periods. Could you share a little bit about what our body needs to function and why we might be feeling depleted when we remove those foods from our diet during fasting periods?
Yeah, so my priest actually had asked me to speak on this topic to our parish. I am a chapter leader for the Weston A. Price Foundation and have just always been interested in nutrition. So I've done a lot of reading up on this topic.
Lots of books.
Yes.
And blogs.
Today I'm going to reference an article called How to Eat Well During an Orthodox Lent by Chris Masterjohn, PhD. I will link to his original article below, so because it's pretty lengthy and very descriptive, but full of amazing information and definitely well worth the read. So just some of the things that I'll be speaking about today is from his article. So the first and obvious thing is protein. And we all know we need protein to feel satiated and to be strong and to basically function in general. So that'll be the main focus, is getting enough protein so we're not just eating a bunch of sugar and carbs.
You mean we can't just replace our protein with bread? You can't survive on bread and coffee during the whole fast?
So there is an argument. People are like, oh, well, back in the day, our ancestors, they just survived on, bread. Bread back in the day is not modern bread.
Oh, I have this argument all the time, being someone that has celiacs, because people, if you have celiac disease, you can't eat gluten, which generally is defined as wheat, rye, and barley. And I always argue to people that I really don't think that it's the wheat, rye, and barley itself that is my problem. I think that it is the way that it has changed and modified from what it was 100 years ago to what it is now. We had a parishioner at my church growing up who was diagnosed with celiac disease when he was like 89 years old, and he lived off of bread his entire life with no problems. So
Wow.
It's not surprising that you're introducing issues in when foods are being so modified today compared
Right.
to what they used to be.
And sprayed and all the things.
All of the things. If you want to go down that rabbit hole.
Yes. So if your bread is not organic, ancient grain, freshly milled,
Sourdough.
and fermented, it's not going to sustain you in the day. But
Yes.
if it is all those things, you definitely do. I notice a difference if I eat those types of breads. You do feel more full for longer. So there's that. Okay, so protein, vitamin A. It, for many reasons, we are not able to convert the vitamin A to what our body needs because of genetics, digestive health, status of other nutrients, or hormone balance. And so we rely more heavily on animal-based vitamin A. So this is going to be a big one of trying to find substitutes to make sure you're getting enough vitamin A. Because I know personally, I take extra animal supplements for vitamin A, and my vitamin A level on my blood work is still low. So
Yeah,
most
because
people
some people will
are,
argue that if they just replace it with a supplement for it during fasting periods, but even the supplements that are great for you and aren't made of synthetic things are still difficult for your body to absorb.
right, because you do have to have other foods to help the body absorb them. Zinc. Zinc supports healthy skin and hair, prevents acne, keeps you from getting sick, helps balance your hormones, stabilizes your blood sugar, and helps you hold on to your lean muscle mass. And again, the best sources are animal foods. So that will be another one that you have to make sure you're getting enough of. Calcium. Obviously, we need calcium for strong bones, and it is very poorly absorbed from some plants. So that's another tricky one. Don't worry, we have great substitutes for all of these things that are fast friendly. Vitamin B12, it helps stabilize your mood, prevents anxiety and depression, prevents anemia, protects against cardiovascular disease, and works with other nutrients to prevent fatty liver disease. Its deficiency can cause irreversible degeneration of your nervous system.
So if you're fasting and you don't have energy and your skin is breaking out and you're not feeling good, you're feeling depressed, there's a good indication there that you are missing out on something crucial that your body really needs to function.
Right, and that's not the purpose of the fast, to feel terrible.
Yes, we're supposed to still be nourishing our body.
Right.
We were given these bodies to take care of them, not to deprive them of things that they need to survive.
Yes. And then vitamin K2. It is used mostly for bone and dental health, kidney and heart health, exercise performance, sexual health, and cancer protection. And then finally, choline. Choline prevents fatty liver disease, which afflicts approximately 70 million Americans. It also supports mental health, supporting performance at tasks requiring extended focus, protecting against age-related memory loss, and likely protecting against anxiety and depression as well.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Now, if you didn't listen to the last episode, if you're someone that's pregnant or breastfeeding or already struggling with, say, eating disorders or something of that sort, this might not apply to you.
Right. Or a health condition.
Or a health condition, a variety of different
Yes.
things.
Or even if you are living in a house with people who can't have certain foods,
Yes.
there's grace. And
Talk to your
economy.
priest about it.
Yes, talk to your
because-
priest to figure out what works for you.
Because while there are substitutes, and we will get into some of the substitutes that you could eat in place of some of these, the substitutes are still quite difficult to get the same exact type of nutrients. And it it isn't as nourishing as it might be to have animal products as it would be for someone that's pregnant or someone that really needs those to help maintain their body, because they aren't just at a state of needing the bare minimum, they need extra. But one of the most asked questions on Facebook and all of the other online social medias when it comes to fasting is, what am I supposed to eat? Because all I eat is beans and rice, and I'm tired of eating beans and rice. Well, one, beans and rice probably isn't giving you everything that you need.
Not at all.
And two, there are other options. And it will force you to think outside of the box in many areas, but to me that's kind of the fun of it with fasting, is that it forces you to be creative, and it forces you to prepare and to plan, which is something that not everyone always does. Are you a meal planner type of person?
Not at all. I definitely struggle with planning and preparing for Lent, for long fasting periods. I have a good routine during the year for Wednesdays and Fridays, but when it comes to every day for 40, 50 days, I need to get better at my planning.
I know some people will go into the actual like meal prepping side of it, where they just find it easier at the beginning of a fast to do a lot of meal prep. Like, these are the foods that I know that we want to make. Say you want to make a lot of hummus, you make big batches of hummus. But I lean more into I like meal planning, and I keep a calendar, like a little weekly planner. And I find that it's very helpful and takes a lot of stress out of the week too, if you go down and you write out at least breakfast and dinner. Lunchtime, I just make sure I have a good amount of like healthy staples of random things with protein in it that my kids can nibble on, because half the week we end up having leftovers and a variety of different things for lunch. But if I can at least write down for every day of the week a good solid breakfast and dinner. No one's saying that you have to stick to everything that you plan on every day, but one, it helps in the evenings whenever it's time to make dinner and you don't have to go back and forth for an hour about what are we going to make? Let's just look in our fridge and try to figure out what we have here. And two, it helps when you're shopping, because especially during fasting periods and you're trying to be mindful of the things that you're consuming, it can help you from over consuming things that you don't actually need and resisting the bag of this kind of chips or this kind of specialty bread that looks tasty or this or that, because it's not something that you've planned for and you know it's not something that you need. But do you want to talk a little bit about how can we replace some of those things that we're missing when we're not eating animal foods?
Yes. So, protein. Obviously, when we are not fasting, the best way to get protein is through meat, fish, poultry, dairy, and eggs. And that's preferably pasture-raised, wild-caught, raw milk, or fermented dairy. So when we're fasting and you're trying not to eat any of those things, good substitutes are invertebrates, like snails, crickets, and shellfish. There's actually a restaurant near me that does have snails on the menu for some of their appetizers, and I always want to go try it because it's one of the most nutrient-dense foods.
I'll send you with my 4-year-old.
Yes.
You can go enjoy them.
And pulses, which are lentils, peas, and beans. So that would be your alternatives. So you have to really put an emphasis on those at every meal. Vitamin A was the next one. And when you're not fasting, the best source of vitamin A is liver. Yes, I said liver.
Yum.
Everyone should be eating liver. If you don't like liver,
my dog eats liver. I can't bring myself to do it often.
It can be kind of hard just to eat straight liver, but you can. What we do most often is grind it into our meats, so that way you're not really tasting the liver. and you're still getting it. So that seems to be the easiest way for my family to get liver, or supplementing.
I take a great natural prenatal
Yes.
with liver in it. The smell is pretty gross.
So liver is your best bet. And then dairy, egg yolks, and fermented cod liver oil would be for your non-fasting, your best sources of vitamin A. So when you're fasting, these things, you will have to eat 2 times of them to get the same amount of vitamin A. So when we say that like eating less, this is when you might actually need to eat a little more to get enough vitamin A. So when you're eating shellfish, red palm oil that is responsibly harvested, let's not kill the orangutans, and then red, orange, yellow, and green vegetables, obviously organic.
So where do you shop at? Where do you buy all of these things? I think that's the question that people ask. Like, where do you buy liver at? Because
Liver, actually, my one grocery store does. Wegmans, if anyone has it. They do sell organic chicken livers in their freezer section. I haven't seen like beef liver or anything
maybe
like
it's
that before.
frozen. Maybe that's why I don't find it as easily.
Yeah, it's like in a little jar. They will have it. Actually, I would say if you have any like international food markets, that's where you're going to find all the good stuff.
Step outside your comfort
Yes.
zone and go to the international food market.
But red palm oil, you'll get that at most grocery stores. Obviously, red, orange, yellow, and green vegetables you can find at most grocery stores, and shellfish. But so you really need to put an emphasis on those foods each week, each day.
Pick one and incorporate it into your meal plan.
Yes. Next one was zinc. So when you're not fasting, the best form of zinc is from beef and cheese.
Love cheese.
So when you're fasting, the best form is oysters. And it can be
Don't love
either,
oysters as much.
I don't think I ever had oysters growing up, but I love raw oysters now. Like, we look forward to if my husband and I happen to go get a date night and we get to go out to eat.
Have you gone to the oyster place?
And it's a fasting day. We're like, yes, let's go to the oyster bar.
Yeah. My husband and I went on a date there, and he had a nice giant platter of like all of the different kinds of oysters. I was like, I'm just gonna have a salad.
Did you try any?
No.
Oh my gosh. Like, we almost feel
I
high
just
afterwards.
can't.
Like, it feels so good. You're just like, oh my
He
gosh,
was having
this
the
is
best time of
amazing.
his life. He was so excited to take our kid back there that he knew was going to love it and
Yes.
appreciate it way more than I did.
I have a girlfriend who her son loves them also, and they go
Yeah.
there. Yes, so oysters. But I had listened to a Weston A. Price podcast with someone who deals with oysters. I don't know what that's called, but
Is
and
there
he
a
said,
name for them?
I don't know.
An oyster shucker?
Yeah. Had an oyster farm.
Farmer.
It's not a
Oh,
farm
yeah.
though, but they're not
Well, yeah, but I
farmed. They
think
were
they-
wild, so I don't know.
Well, they farm like fish.
Yeah,
They're called farmers.
right. But you should really only be eating wild caught, unless it's like a responsible farmer, fish farmer. Okay.
I don't know what they're called.
So, yes, oysters, you can eat them raw or like in the can, smoked. I do get them in the can, and so we'll make like jambalaya, just like a seafood jambalaya, and we'll throw those in. I don't care for them with the smoky flavor. I wish I could find it without the smoky flavor, but that seems to be the most popular thing. So I deal with it.
We will do that. We'll put some. So I have one kid I have 3 boys. The youngest is 2 and is kind of indifferent. It's hard to say what he likes or doesn't like. Some days
Changes
he likes
with the day.
Yeah, some days he likes what we feed him, other days he doesn't. So it's hard to say if he likes seafood. But my middle child, my 4-year-old, loves seafood, and my eldest is not a fan of really any seafood. Like, he used to like shrimp, but now he doesn't even really like that. And so my husband will tend to like make pasta, and if he's making pasta and he's trying to keep it meat free, he'll throw some kind of fish in there and kind of mix it up with it, and it's not quite as noticeable, and it tastes pretty good.
Or you chop it up small.
Chop it up small.
So they can't pick it out.
Some people say that you shouldn't be hiding food from kids, and I'm not hiding it from him.
Just making it more palatable.
Yes. He's very aware that it's in there. I'm not for hiding food from your kids. I think that you should expose them to different kinds of foods. And people are always shocked that, my 6-year-old's favorite thing in the world is Brussels sprouts. Like, he loves roasted Brussels sprouts. He will eat an entire tray of them himself. And I'm like, well,
like
because
popcorn.
Yeah, I'm
So
like,
good.
because we're not putting it on him. I think so many people that have young children and say, my child doesn't like this or my child doesn't like that we put it on them that they don't like that, because kids' taste buds are changing so rapidly.
Yes.
So for us to give them a food one time and them not like it, and us say, oh, they don't like shrimp, we're never going to feed them shrimp anymore. Well, when they're 12 years old, they just know that they don't like shrimp. It's like a psychological thing that, well, they don't like shrimp because it was a learned behavior that we helped them learn that they don't like shrimp.
We enabled it. Yeah.
Yes, we enabled it. We didn't keep presenting it to them.
Yeah, I mean, my kids have all gone through phases where they didn't like a certain thing for a certain time, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. You can just pick around it. Like, I don't make a second type of meal.
Yes.
I don't stop serving it. Like, I will continue to serve it until you eventually
You will eventually like it.
and they eventually do start eating it and liking it. My firstborn, he ate everything and liked everything, but each child gets a little pickier because they get exposed to not as healthy foods and more sugar earlier on than the firstborn does.
I remember you talking about a birthday party. What was it? Your oldest, you were like, yeah, he didn't have juice until this point in time. And then your youngest, you were like, he was drinking 3 juice boxes and a lollipop at the birthday party at 2 years old.
Super cringe, yeah. So yes, just continue to offer it. I never force it, and I never make my children finish their food, but it's just, that's what it is. And if they really don't want it, they are free to make their own eggs or, whatever
not even that nice.
dinner if they really want to, which has only happened a couple times, not even with all of the kids. So they usually give in. And at the end of the day, if everything you're feeding them is nutrient dense, we do need to trust that their body is wise and they know what they need. And, because there was a study on babies before you were allowed to study on babies with food, where they would put out all different types of food and let the baby just choose what they wanted. And this baby that had rickets literally just kept eating cod liver oil until it cured itself of rickets.
Wow.
And this other baby ate tons of bananas that helped it with some other thing. So babies are wise.
I always tell people that too. I can tell when my children are growing or in the middle of a growth spurt, because we'll go through phases that there's almost always one child at my dinner table that is not really eating much for that week. They're not eating much just because they're not hungry.
Yeah.
They don't need it. I'm not going to force them to eat a whole plate of food if their body is telling them that they'd rather sit there and giggle and talk to us because they're not hungry. But the next week they might eat 3 servings of something and then the baby's not eating as much. So
and that's
goes in
another
phases.
point. Don't give a toddler too much food. It's too
Yes.
overwhelming. Just a little bit. Start with just a little bit of each thing, so it's not too overwhelming. You can always give them more if they like it and want more. And don't worry, they will ask.
Oh yeah.
But I've noticed sometimes if we've accidentally given them too much, they're just like, I can't eat all this. I'm not eating any of it.
Yeah.
They kind of just shut down. So you don't want to overwhelm a young child. With
Especially when they're very little and they're not as great at communicating that they're overwhelmed by the amount of food that they're getting. I'll often remind my husband, when we sit down, we cook almost all of our food in cast iron skillets. Good way to get iron. And we'll sit a lot of times the whole skillet on the table and then we'll serve out of it. Mm-hmm. And we end up serving the 2-year-olds before the rest of us pray and just sit it off to the side. And he'll pray with us, but he doesn't have the patience to sit and wait for it to cool as soon as we start eating the rest of us. So will serve his, and I'll often remind my husband to just give him a little amount, because if you give him a ton of it, he will either not want to eat it at all, or he will throw it and play with it, or he will eat too much of it and then doesn't feel well afterwards. My 6-year-old, we've had this conversation a lot about, and even my 4-year-old, because they're more aware of it. Like when we're at the breakfast table, if I've made pancakes or something that, is sweet and yummy, I like making sourdough pancakes, they will want to eat multiple. And then I'm like, they've eaten more than I have, and they still want more. And I'm not telling them, no, you can't have more. But before they have more, I tell them to stop, drink some of their milk or some of their water. Finish your milk first. Sit there for a minute. We usually read our story Bible right after breakfast. And so sometimes I'll say, let's read our Bible story. And then if you are still hungry, then you can have more, because you get into this cycle of overeating. And that's how adults get into this habit of overeating too, is ever since a young age, we just eat and we like something. So we eat more of it and we eat more of it and we eat more of it. And we never actually learn to stop and listen to the cues that our body is giving us to tell us that we've had enough.
And that reminds me also, adults, I think you have to try something new like 7 times before you might like it. So that's an adult. And children, I think it's close to like 30 times. So that's why you just keep exposing them to the different foods. Like my youngest didn't really love sushi, whereas my other 2 did. But we just I would be like, oh, do you want me to deconstruct it? And then he would eat it deconstructed. So we just did that until he got a little bit older, and now he eats a full thing, no problem. And my boys eat 2 of them, and now we can't really eat it that often because it's just too expensive.
I know. I'm thankful at the moment that only one of mine really would like sushi, and I know that because he's the one who, I'm like, he likes to eat seaweed chips. I think they call them
seaweed
chips.
Snacks.
Seaweed snacks is what they call them, the like packets of seaweed, which is also a good snack to have. And he likes those, and he loves rice, and he loves fish. So I was like, he will be the one to love sushi.
Yeah. I still remember the first time I ate sushi. I was in college and I was in Australia, and it was at like a random in the middle of the night, like
a random little place.
Yes.
Those are usually the
and
good
I remember
ones,
I tried it for the first time and I literally spit it into the garbage. I couldn't. Now I love it. But again, it's mind over matter.
Yeah.
So all of you people that are like, I can't eat shellfish, unless you have an allergy,
try it.
Just keep trying it.
Speaking to myself. I do like sushi though. It's the one thing that my husband and I love sushi. There's a lot of different restaurants that we could choose from around us if we're going to go out on a date night and want to eat out at a restaurant. But we like laugh that we always go back to the sushi place. We don't ever branch out. Won't say ever, but very seldom do we branch out from sushi because we're afraid that we're going to go somewhere else and be disappointed that we didn't like it. And we know that we've been eating at this sushi place for 10 years now since they opened, and they source their stuff well. And, it's never a place that we've gone and gotten sick there, and we're never disappointed. So we just keep going back.
Yeah. So zinc, so I did the oysters, but also soaking, sprouting, and fermenting reduce the substances in whole grains, nuts, seeds, and pulses that inhibit zinc absorption. So that's the issue, is not only do you mostly get it from beef and cheese, but oysters are just as good. But if you're eating junky grains and nuts and seeds, that's actually prohibiting your body from being able to absorb any zinc out of those foods. So it is important to soak, sprout, ferment grains, nuts, seeds, pulses, or legumes.
So practically what that can look like, I know in my house, my kids love rice, and they also love oatmeal. And those are things that are difficult for your body to break down and absorb the nutrients from. So a lot of times the oats, if I know that I want to make oatmeal the night before, we'll stick them on my stove, and you want to soak them in water and something that has the like mother to it.
Acidic.
So I've tried it before, and you can use a sourdough starter, because it has that fermented part to it. But oftentimes I will just put you put a splash of apple cider vinegar in there that has the mother. It will say on it like with mother, because you know that it's fermented, and you soak that. You'll find even in the morning when you go to heat them up on the stove that it takes way less time to cook them. Just a few minutes compared to 20. And the same thing with rice. If I know we want rice for dinner, you can very simply go, okay, we're going to have rice for dinner tonight. When we wake up and we're making breakfast, let's just sit our rice in whatever vessel you're going to cook the rice in, fill it with the amount of water that it's going to need, add your splash of apple cider vinegar, and there's a noticeable difference in how it tastes too. Not the acidity part of it, like you can't taste that, but you can tell that it doesn't feel like you're like gnawing through some like hard substance to try to eat.
Yeah, so the oatmeal, if you're not fasting, you can also use whey or yogurt or kefir.
Yes.
I've actually used lemon juice also. You can use the acidity helps break it down also. And then the rice, for like white rice, doesn't need to be soaked, but there's also not a whole lot of nutrients in white rice. So it is like a quick, easy thing to just do the white rice. I personally will then cook it in bone broth to give it more nutrients, since it's not that nutrient dense. Whereas all the other rices are definitely more nutrient dense, but they all need to be properly soaked first to break down the anti-nutrients. This might all be very overwhelming for some of you.
Take small steps.
Yes.
If you want to make a difference, you're already eating rice, you're already eating oatmeal, then start soaking it. That's a very simple step. Doesn't take a lot of extra things that you don't have in your house, and doesn't take a lot of extra time. Actually, it probably will speed up your process when you go to cook it.
And that's when talking about meal prep, I often would do at the start of Lent, big batches of beans, dried beans, and then I would soak them properly and then just put them in freezer bags. So that way I had 1 or 2 cups of beans ready, already cooked, soaked properly and cooked, and in the freezer, easy to put in a meal. So that's
ready
another
to
little
use.
tip and trick.
It's like your diet overall. This is not just a fasting. A lot of what we're sharing is, well, even when you're not fasting, ways to eat healthy. And like we mentioned, we'll link to your other video where I know you go a lot more in depth on it. But think about small steps. So if you want to make a change in how you're eating, and you want to start eating in a healthier way, in a way that's more nourishing to your body, make a goal list for 6 months or for your year, and say, okay, for these next 6 months, I want to prioritize eating in a healthier way. These are the 5 things that I'm going to try to commit to doing to help. And then after that, you add in a few more things. It's very difficult to change your whole lifestyle. And if you are a person that is eating freezer meals every single day, to go to being like, I need to soak my beans and soak my this and eat only this and eat only organic this and wild caught this, and make small steps so that you don't overwhelm yourself, right? Because otherwise you'll get burnt out and then you won't want to do anything.
I always tell people it took me 15 years to get to this point. I started it basically in college, and then it just grew from there. So,
and I'm not there yet.
So, it really, baby steps. Be realistic, give yourself some grace, but do make one change at least to your diet to try to improve. Following more of an ancestral diet, like what our ancestors ate up until just 100 years ago when everything else changed.
And society, and especially in the United States, is starting to notice all of the detrimental impacts that are happening because of all of this processed food. And you'll see even in your local grocery stores that, that's why they're cutting out dyes and they're cutting out super processed foods.
Right. Baby steps.
Baby steps.
We'll slowly start taking the toxic things out of. Yes. Calcium. Obviously, when you're not fasting, raw milk is the best form of calcium. And bones, pasture-raised broth, gravy, sauce, and edible fish bones, like sardines. So that would be your best way of calcium. So when you're fasting, there are chia seeds, certain Tofus, I will say it's important to make sure it is organic and fermented. That's one that you don't want to really skimp on.
Yeah, my family tends to just avoid soy products in general during fasting times because a lot of the like faux meat and other things of that sort have this like fake soy byproduct in them, and it doesn't taste very good and it doesn't make you feel very good.
Right. It can really affect your hormones and gut, and just so that's an important one to make sure you have high quality organic, legitimate fermented tofu. And then cruciferous vegetables are good sources of calcium. But again, you have to eat a lot more of these things to equal the amount that your body actually needs and absorbs.
And if you have children, bone broth is one of those things that's very good, that if you talk to your priest, they might advise you to continue to use bone broth during fasting periods, because I don't know, haven't you drank bone broth before? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't love it. But to me, I'm like, the flavor of just pure bone broth is not my thing, but I know how many benefits come from it, so we will use it as like a base for a lot of sauces that we make. We'll use it in any soup. And bone broth, especially when you're not in a fasting period, is a very simple, small step to take towards making your own natural foods.
If you're going to get actual bone broth, like that still is gelatinous and needs to be refrigerated,
yeah,
it's expensive. It's like $10 for like a pint. I don't think it's even a quart. Like
yeah.
It's much cheaper to just save your bones. What we do, both Kyra and I, we save our bones in freezer bags, so you can just
reusable freezer bag.
Yes, you just. I mean, it's plastic, whatever. It's just in my.
It can't be as bad as what we'd buy at the store.
No, so after we eat, meat that has bones, or you get the whole chicken, that's also or a whole turkey.
Yes.
That's even more cost effective. And then you save the bones, and you can put them in the freezer if you don't have enough for a batch, or you put them right into the crock pot or on the stove top.
I do mine in the Instant Pot.
Or an Instant Pot.
It's so simple. Like, I take bones out of the freezer, throw them in, throw in some vegetable scraps a lot of times. Like, my husband will put like some ends of carrots in there and some celery and whatever random.
That's another thing. We save, like when we're cutting our vegetables, we save the onion skins
in a freezer bag,
and the onions
skins
and the garlic, random garlic bits, and the carrots and the celery. We'll save, or any random vegetables. Some of them I don't put in there. But yeah, so we have a freezer bag, or like lots of freezer bags of vegetables.
Yep. Anything that's not composted, we then end up saving in a freezer bag.
So then it makes it really easy to just throw it all in a pot, put a little vinegar in, fill it with water, and you're, set it to go.
The Instant Pot takes 3 hours. I set it for 3 hours, and then I just leave it on overnight. And then in the next morning, I let it cool completely before taking it out, because I've found these like silicone freezer molds. So that's why I don't put it in it when it's hot, because I don't want to put this hot liquid into my plastic molds.
Yeah.
But they sell silicone molds that are in cup portions. They're amazing. I have like 3 of them. So I think each one has 3 or 4 spots, like 3 or 4 cups in it. Pour all of the broth in it, stick it in the freezer, and then you have 1 solid cup of frozen bone broth. Does
it stay in the mold, or do you take it out and just put that in a bag then?
So sometimes I keep it in the mold. Oftentimes I'll keep it in the mold until I need the mold again. Yeah. And then I'll take it and put it in reusable freezer bags, and I can fit like 6 cups worth in a bag. And it's nice because if you're making something like rice or a sauce or something, and you know it's easy to know how much you're using. When you're like, okay, this is 1 cup's worth. I'll take out 1 block, and that's 1 cup. Yeah. And my husband loves ramen. And I'm like, you cannot eat the store-bought, really not good for you ramen. And so he instead will now take like a whole freezer gallon bag with like 6 of the cubes in it when he wants food, and he'll take the bone broth and then put it with ramen noodles, and it's like there, you have your own really healthy ramen compared to a packet with
We
a
do it all
lot
the
of
time. My
MSG
boys
in
love
it.
it, especially if you're sick and you just need something quick. Like I
Yeah.
need some quick soup for somebody,
Exactly.
it's easy to get. They make a nice organic gluten-free ramen noodle and then bone broth, a little salt and pepper, and you're good to go.
Yeah.
Like it's amazing.
It's so simple, but bone broth is one of the things that I tell people. I'm like, if you are not making your own bone broth, you're missing out.
You are.
And some people think that they shouldn't be making their own bone broth because they don't use it enough. And that's also an indicator.
Right.
Like you should be using so much bone broth that you need to be making your own bone
Change
broth.
what you're eating to incorporate
Almost
more bone
anything
broth.
that you're making that is a dinner type food that calls for water,
Yes.
rice, soup, anything, put bone broth in it.
Yeah. Yeah, because I have one of my sons can't have MSG or yeast extract because it'll give him migraines and he'll vomit and then he'll be on the couch all day, which just happened this week actually from something he ate from a restaurant. So that's a biggie. Like he can really only eat soup at home or from a trusted person, knowing that it was made from scratch. So that's how toxic it can be for some people, not, the processed soups and whatnot. So now on to vitamin B12. When you're not fasting, it's meat, poultry, fish, dairy. When you are fasting, you will want to eat invertebrates, especially oysters and clams are high in vitamin B12. So there's our oysters again. You definitely want to aim to eat oysters at least once a week when on a strict fast. Although that oyster farmer guy that I was listening to, he said it doesn't really stay in the body, like your body processes it daily. So you really only need to eat, I think he said like 2 to 3 oysters and you'll get the amount that you need.
Yeah.
Because then the body just flushes out anything extra. I always want more than that, but that's
when you can, when you want pasta and bread and other things, that's when you can combine it with something else that is going to be more filling than oysters are, than having to have your huge stack like my toddler did of oysters or clams.
Vitamin K2, when you're not fasting, is most found in egg yolks, cheese, and butter. Definitely pasture-raised butter. And then when you're fasting, you can get some vitamin K2 from dark green vegetables. It contains vitamin K1, and then natto, a fermented soy food, vitamin K2. So that's a trickier one to get enough of when fasting.
I saw natto on Chopped for the first time, and they did not like it. Have you ever had it?
I don't think I have had it.
If I'm thinking of the correct thing, it was like this like little balls of like sticky, gross tasting stuff. None of them liked it. I was like, yeah, you're really selling it to me right now.
Yeah, I haven't tried it. And then the last thing is choline. So when you're not fasting, that's found in egg yolks. When you're fasting, you can find it in beets, wheat germ, and lecithin. So it is possible to be healthy while fasting. You just have to be very intentional. And in Chris Masterjohn's article, he goes into basically like kind of meal planning a little bit of like what to eat during Lent, like how much of these things each day that you can try to plan. I'm not the best person at that, so I do my best. But I've heard people say just plan 2 weeks of meals.
And I don't even do that. I plan 1 week.
Well, if you want to plan 2 weeks and then you repeat 3 times throughout Great Lent, because it's about 6 weeks long. And so that would be, you won't get sick of it because it's at least 2 weeks spread out. And then you don't have to, make more than that as your meal plan.
Another style of meal planning that I know some people will do is plan a like style of food per each day. So like this day we're going to make a pasta dish, and this day
Italian
we're going
night,
to
Mexican
make,
night. That's kind of how I am.
Yeah, or this day we're going to make a rice dish, and then they just add in all of the good nutrients to those things.
That's more of like how I plan, but even then I kind of wing it like, we're going to go with this theme tonight. But I just try to keep certain things always in stock. So that way I can kind of on the fly be like, so I always try to keep like a frozen seafood medley. And then I keep a thing of, like I said, the canned oysters, shrimp. Scallops. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, scallops. So I try to keep those frozen things in our freezer. So that way, and lobster, the little lobster tails. My husband found a bag of it at Aldi. And so he kind of stocked up because it was wild caught lobster tails. So he bought a bunch.
I do that with shrimp. There's like a particular type of shrimp that I like that Aldi sells, and they don't always have it. And so when they do have it, I just buy like 7
You
of
stock
them.
up on it, yeah, as much as they'll let you buy at one time. So to eat healthy, you want to have freezer space. That's another big thing, is buying your food in bulk. And, you know, when you're not fasting, buying like the whole animals, a whole chicken, maybe a quarter of a cow, half a pig, venison, you know, like these things, that's how you're able to eat better on a budget. So you do want to, when you're eating these types of foods that you're not normally used to, you want to include foods or supplements that aid your digestion at every meal, just to help things. So that'd be like ginger or lacto-fermented vegetables, kombucha, raw apple cider vinegar, Swedish bitters, and digestive enzyme supplements. That'll help you, because personally, like, I can't eat a full bowl of lentil soup. It will destroy my stomach. So I can eat it as like a side dish, but I can't have it as just my dinner that night.
Yeah, because even though these healthy things are really good for your body, it kind of shocks your system if you go from, and I remember at a local women's retreat that we had went to, and this presenter was talking about kombucha, and she was trying to be mindful of those that don't often drink kombucha, and kind of telling them like, really, you can only have like a couple sips of it at a time, because otherwise it will run right through you and your stomach will not feel well. And we just looked at each other and we're like, we drink much more than that and are just fine. But
if you're not used
to it, then that's what happens. If it's something that you're used to and you slowly incorporate it into your routine, yes, it is great for you, and your body will do much better handling it than if it is a total shock.
Right. And I was just talking with a friend who she noticed people would, if they weren't used to eating like a gluten-free flour or nuts or something, like even that could cause, you know, their stomach, you know, or their digestive system to get upset. So it's a matter of, yes, small increments until your body adjusts. And it might be a sign that you have some gut imbalance that you need to work on healing your gut. And the best way to heal your gut is bone broth and all these digestive aids.
And all of these other things.
And then another big thing when you're fasting and not fasting is to watch your intake of alcohol, oils, sweets, and desserts. Yes, it's okay to have once in a while, but that does such a doozy on our systems. You know, so everything in moderation, and like with alcohol, you want high quality if you're going to be drinking a wine or a beer or even liquors. Like, you want, if you're going to do it, you want a good quality and just one. I just read an article about how even 1 to 2 drinks a day increases your chance of like mental decline a lot. So, you know, once in a while it's fine, but it's a matter of your daily habits. That's really the important thing. And then same with your oils. This is a big one because...
And an easy swap for people usually too.
So when we are fasting, usually olive oil is one of the oils we're not supposed to be consuming the whole time. There's like some days you can. So, and olive oil, honestly, it has a low heat point to begin with. So it really should only be used for like salad dressing or very low sauteing or baking, but it can't go very high. Otherwise then it becomes toxic.
Yeah.
So you don't want to swap with a vegetable oil, though. That's number one. Like, this is what our priest also
I was
says.
raised on vegetable oil.
Right. And that honestly, like, does so much damage. Like, and that's what our priest also suggests to people when they're like, oh my gosh, is this overwhelming? Where do I start? And he always says, cut out high fructose corn syrup and cut out the seed oils. If you do those two things, you will notice a difference.
So if someone's going to the store, what oil do you suggest that they buy as the easiest alternative?
Either that red palm oil, but that can probably be pricey. So that's more of like incorporating it, mixing it in. But it is a very nutrient dense oil. Red palm oil or coconut oil. You can get the refined coconut oil so it doesn't taste like coconut and it doesn't lose its nutrient density. It doesn't lose anything by doing it.
That's what we lean into is coconut oil usually.
Yeah, so that's my main swap. Avocado oil can be debatable, but it's a fruit oil also. You just need to watch where you're getting it from, because I also read this other article that did all this testing on all these avocado oils at all these popular places, even like Aldi, and they tested it and it was seed oil. So you have to make sure you're getting from...
I won't tell you about how I buy my avocado oil from Aldi then.
We did for a long time.
Well,
and then
I don't use avocado oil regularly. Our go-to is usually going to be coconut oil or olive oil, or if you're not fasting, I think we both have the little savers for our bacon.
Yes.
After you cook your bacon and you like pour it into a little thing that strains it, keeps all the bacon fat for you. But Aldi's sells a spray organic avocado oil, and I keep 1 can of it because my kids like waffles and my waffle iron likes to stick.
Yes. Avocado oil can be easy because it's liquid. Whereas coconut oil, unless you're in a hot climate, you usually have to melt it first to use it. But I try to just take that step and do that.
It's so simple, though.
Yeah.
It's really not that difficult.
And then, so when you're not fasting, though, yes, animal, beef tallow, pork lard, bacon fat, butter. Those are your best bets when you're not fasting. And there's lots of restaurants now.
We're going to put this video out right before the fast.
I know,
so
sorry,
that
guys.
Everyone will be super excited to not go eat butter.
I know. I remember when I did this presentation for our church, my dad was like, Anna, you just made us all hungry for all these
in
animal
the middle of
foods.
the fast.
But I was like, well, I had to explain where you're getting them from normally. And now you need to pay attention to where you're getting them from when you're not fasting. And then with sweets, you really not only just high fructose corn syrup, but you want to avoid even just white sugar in general. Best swaps for that is honey, maple syrup, stevia, fruit, coconut sugar, maple sugar, date sugar, or sucanat. Those would be good alternatives. And that's what we use often.
Yeah.
It's
I
an
use
easy
maple
swap.
syrup and almost everything.
Maple syrup is your best bet.
Local maple syrup from 2 houses down.
Nice. It's the lowest glycemic level. It's lower than honey even.
Yeah.
So maple syrup is kind of the best bet. And you can heat with maple syrup, whereas honey, you don't really want to heat it and bake with it.
Yeah.
I know some things it works, once in a while, but
You're supposed to be adding your honey to lukewarm things, not to hot boiling things.
Correct, because it, I guess, makes it toxic too.
But even honey, if you're buying store-bought honey, is not going to be as beneficial to you as buying honey that's local to you.
Right, your local honey, you get the local like allergen benefits from what the bees are visiting the flowers that are in your environment. So it will help your body adjust to your own environment.
So if I were to pick 3 things, like my own personal recommendations for someone that is like, I need to start small on eating healthier during fasts and doing things that are nourishing. Well, I guess one of them isn't during the fast, but 3 healthy swaps in general. 1 being what type of oil you're using. That's a fairly simple swap. Just stop buying vegetable oil. 2, start making your own bone broth. And 3 would be to just start soaking things.
Yeah.
All kinds of things.
Grains, nuts, seeds, legumes, or pulses. Yeah, so there's easy swaps. Just depends where you're at. Some people are further along in their nourishing diet journey. So it just depends where you're at, the kind of advice that we would give. But you just start at the base level and work your way up slowly, because you don't want If you try to do all the things, I think we said this about something else earlier on an earlier podcast, like if you try to do all the things, you're just going to crash and burn and give up all of it. So just one or two things that, and then once you master that and you get comfortable with that, then you can add in something else.
But I guess the key of this conversation was that, especially when you're entering a fasting period, try to be mindful of what you're eating. Try to make more health conscious decisions. And if you are going to be fasting from foods, don't just swap to fasting from foods that are animal fat and replacing it with things that are horribly processed for you. Try to make mindful decisions about things that you're purchasing, and that goes for all year round as well. Because the point is that we're supposed to be nourishing our body, helping our body in conjunction with prayer, in conjunction with almsgiving, and that is what is good for our salvation.
And not obsessing over the food, either fasting and non-fasting. That is the struggle of not obsessing over properly preparing my food and what I'm eating. And what I'm
getting overwhelmed is not helping your mental health.
Right. So, if it is, and this is, again, you should be talking with your spiritual father if you're having any of these struggles, and he will help guide you on, trying to find the best route for you. But we understand that not all spiritual fathers are knowledgeable in nutrition and health. And so it's good to have a basic level
and do your own research into it. Yeah.
A basic idea of what you should be eating. And because it's also, I've heard the argument like we shouldn't just be swapping all these things for like meat products and non-meat products.
Yeah.
So there's that balance too of not like, like the soy burger just to have a burger,
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's not a beef burger and it's not going to taste the same.
It's not as good. And you're going to have a hard time cutting out meat and finding anything that tastes as good.
Right.
So it's generally not that big of a concern that you're going to find a super delightful replacement.
Yeah, you just don't want to be replacing it with junk that's going to do more harm to your body and ultimately your soul, because again, the body and soul are connected. So one last thing before we come to a close is something that I know a lot of people who eat like us, nutrient-dense ancestral diet, struggle with the idea of like, how do I give up these animal fats? Like, is it going to be unhealthy for my body? And I did actually I was at a Weston A. Price conference, and I got to listen to a 2-part lecture series by Dr. Natasha McBride, who wrote the GAPS, Gut and Psychology and Physiology Syndrome books. And she actually spoke on this very topic. In her presentation, she noted that, some cultures or traditions fast for 40 days for religious reasons, and that's okay for the body. After she went through this whole spiel of, all these animal foods and the importance of animal foods and fats, and then she says, but for a 40-day fast, that's completely okay for the body. One of her books, I can't remember the name of it, I'll have to look it up and I can link to it. She says that she addresses in the one book how to go in and out of those types of, vegan fasts so that it doesn't do harm on the body. So I haven't personally read it, but I will link to it in case anyone's interested in reading that, because it helped me ease some of those concerns when you get so hyper-focused on foods and eating that, an ancestral diet, to then all of a sudden take most of it away and feel like, what damage is this going to do to my body? So it really helped me. She said it's a fast, it's a detox, it can be good for you, not long term. She didn't recommend a vegan diet all the time, but for a 40-day fast, it was completely fine on the body as long as you go in and out in certain ways. And it, like you said, kind of baby steps into things. So your body, it's not a shock to the system.
Acclimate yourself to it.
Right. And I mean, the church calendar does that all on its own with the cheese fair versus meat fair Sunday. You have a week where you take out the dairy products first, or the meat products first, but you're still having the dairy and eggs. So it gives your body that week to adjust to not having
Wild
the meat.
how church tradition knows what's good for your body, isn't it?
That brings up another thing. So when I read my introduction to all things nutrition was reading Michael Pollan's book, The Omnivore's Dilemma. I picked up the book in the airport on the way to our honeymoon. That's what I read on my honeymoon. And in there, he addresses and talks about how if the whole world ate like the Greek Orthodox, we wouldn't have all these food problems and farming problems, because it does give creation a little breathing time, a 40-day breathing time, and an every Wednesday and Friday breathing time of not consuming these animal fats and products and meats. And it would be a little healthier on the environment and the animals. So our church is so wise. It really was just
not surprising.
Yes, yeah. Except, I guess, going into the feast in the middle of the night on Pascha. But you know what? I think the resurrection just covers it all. And
I think the Lord will be happy for
gives
us.
us some grace. So to close it up, we just need to remember that the church never separates the soul from the body. And the fast is to be life-giving, not life-depleting. And there's a good scripture to go with that. I have come that they may have life and have it more abundantly.
Thank you for tuning in to Veiled in Grace. We are an Orthodox women's lifestyle podcast. If you liked what you heard today, be sure to like, subscribe, and share our video with a friend so that it can help get the word out.
And feel free to leave a comment with any topic suggestions or any more questions revolving around fasting or diet.
Share one of your favorite fasting meals, maybe.
Yes, or any tips or tricks that work for you. We are all ears, because obviously we still struggle with it as well. We're definitely not here to preach, because we're right there with you struggling. So yeah, any topic suggestions or reviews or any ways that this has helped you, please let us know in the comments below. God bless you.
What shall